While fears of an imminent coup are overblown, there is little doubt that Russian President Vladimir Putin is entering the most challenging period of his long rule, write Petr Sauer and Shaun in an article for The Guardian. Several people close to the Russian leader, as well as sources in the Russian business community and representatives of Western intelligence agencies, paint a picture of an isolated leader surrounded by an elite that is rapidly losing illusions about both the protracted war in Ukraine and the country's economic downturn. This year, the mood among the elite has certainly changed. There is deep disappointment in Putin, said a well-connected business leader. He added that there is a growing feeling that some kind of catastrophe is looming. No one believes that everything will suddenly collapse tomorrow. But there's a growing awareness that completely senseless, self-destructive decisions continue to be made. People who once defended Putin no longer do so. Any sense of a future has vanished, a source told the publication. The article notes that Putin's approval ratings are falling, the economy is under increasing pressure, and even pro-Kremlin bloggers, who previously rarely criticized the president, are beginning to express their opinions. A number of people familiar with Putin's views, as well as European and Ukrainian intelligence data, indicate that, despite the cracks appearing within the country, Putin's approach to the war in Ukraine has not changed, and he remains determined to continue it. Two sources with access to the Kremlin leader shared that Putin made it clear to his inner circle that he believes Moscow will be able to seize all of Donbass by the end of the year. Putin is fixated on Donbass and won't stop until he achieves his goal, one source said. The authors recall that, speaking after the Victory Day parade on May 9th, the size of which was scaled down due to concerns about Ukrainian drone attacks, Putin surprised many by declaring that the war was nearing its end. This statement made headlines, but those familiar with Putin's thinking cautioned that it shouldn't be interpreted as a sign of his willingness to compromise. On the contrary, it demonstrates Putin's belief in the inevitability of a military breakthrough. A Ukrainian intelligence official said Russian generals convinced the Russian leader that Donbass would be captured by the end of the year. At the same time, military analysts note that at the current rate of Russia's advance, it may take years to completely capture Donbass. It remains unclear to what extent the Russian military and intelligence services are feeding Putin an overly optimistic picture of events. Even if many of those around him understand the reality of the situation, we still don't know what Putin himself understands. That's the biggest difficulty, noted one senior European intelligence official. The authors point out that waves of public discontent began to emerge as early as 2026, when the Kremlin banned or restricted most messaging apps, leaving access only to state-backed alternatives. Russian authorities justified these unprecedented repressive measures as security measures against Ukrainian drone attacks and sabotage operations. Videos of small business owners ranting about tax hikes, residents complaining about constant internet outages, and farmers in Siberia furious over government-mandated mass slaughter of livestock have gone viral. In April, Russia's overall happiness index fell to its lowest level in 15 years, according to a state-run sociological center. And several polls showed Putin's approval ratings had fallen to their lowest since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. While it is clear that discontent among the elite and the population is growing, most analysts believe that any real threat to Putin's regime will come from within his inner circle, not from the streets. One of the most explosive claims released earlier this month, citing an intelligence report prepared by an unnamed European country, was the suggestion that former Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu could pose a threat to Putin. However, many supporters and critics alike believe the likelihood of an imminent coup in the Kremlin is unlikely. A source familiar with Kremlin discussions claimed that Putin is receiving distorted information about developments on the front lines, where, according to the Pentagon, the Russian army has begun to suffer direct territorial losses. Of course, officials and military personnel are painting the president a rosy picture. They're lying to him. That's how the system Putin has built works, he explained. European intelligence confirms this, but they don't know to what extent the head of state is truly aware of the problems on the battlefield. The elite's nervousness is also heightened by rising inflation, tax increases, and pressure on business. The arrest of billionaire Vadim Moshkovich, founder of the agricultural holding Rusagro, has caused particular concern. Nevertheless, the oligarchs are afraid to voice dissent, even though, according to a businessman interviewed by the publication, many are deep down in horror. The business elite is playing Russian roulette. They're hoping their neighbor will suffer while they themselves will be spared, said Oleg Tinkov, a banker who condemned the war and now lives in exile. Who will stand up to him? Everyone's just waiting for him to die, he added. A senior European intelligence official said Russian officials were currently at the stage of recognizing the problems both on the battlefield and in the economy, but had no plans to overcome them. Large-scale internet blockages and the growing influence of the FSB, which is lobbying for such measures, have caused particular irritation within the elite. According to the publication sources, representatives of the Kremlin's political bloc, including Dmitry Peskov and Sergei Kiriyenko, tried to persuade the president to ease the restrictions, but to no avail. As long as the war continues, Putin will prioritize the security services, said a source close to the Kremlin. At the dinner table, everyone talks about the internet. In this regard, we're currently somewhere near North Korea, stated another. The elite group that Putin needs to worry most about is the politicians, generals, and business leaders in their early 60s, such as Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin. This group is wise not to question Putin's opinions, but has no stakes in the war he has made, and is very aware of its costs and the damage done to Russia's economy. Corruption is a natural environment for these veterans of many crises, but sanctions punish them and prevent them from having access to assets accumulated in former Western safe havens. An armistice might change this and could also open new career opportunities. Russian corporations, for instance, such as Rosneft, may have to purge notorious characters such as Igor II to regain their position in the world markets. Putin's war against Ukraine aggravates tensions between various and typically disunited elite groups in Russia. They might find a common interest in promoting, with all possible caution, however, the prospect of ending it. The underachievers in their early 60s, most of whom have family ties to old Soviet nomenclatura, may have a different sense of history than Putin, who is obsessed with reasserting dominance over Ukraine and can be wary about new times of troubles. The younger aristocracy may have scant understanding of the war-tiredness in the general populace, but they resent the heroes, whom Putin promotes as the new elite. The only cohort that appears to be committed to Putin's war is his shrinking circle of aging courtiers, who see the risks of staying the course as lesser than those of ending it. They live together with the lonely autocrat in the past and are deaf to the lessons of history, which have unpredictable means of punishing such ignorance.